You ever notice a small, flat, kind of dark spot inside your mouth, maybe on your lip or your cheek? Well, it's actually pretty common. And today, we're going to break down exactly what that is and everything you need to know about it.
So, what exactly is this common little spot? You might just think of it as a freckle, and honestly, you're not totally wrong, but it does have a specific name, and there's a really clear way to understand what's going on.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to look at what causes these spots, what they actually look like, how a diagnosis is confirmed, and then, of course, how they're managed.
First up, what causes melanotic macules? Let's dive into the etiology and pathogenesis.
Okay, so what is a melanotic macule? Well, at its core, it's just a little spot of focused pigmentation. It's caused by a buildup of melanin, the same stuff that gives your skin and hair its color, right there in the top layers of tissue inside your mouth. Now, here's what's pretty interesting. The official cause is actually unknown. But we do have some really solid theories. Some people think they're basically just freckles inside your mouth. Others believe they could be a reaction to something, like a bit of sun damage, some past inflammation, or even a response to minor trauma in that area.
So what do these things actually look like? Let's get into their clinical appearance and what you should be looking for.
Okay, so visually, these macules have some key features. For one, they're totally flat. You wouldn't be able to feel them with your tongue. They're typically brown, have really distinct borders, and they're usually pretty small. We're talking less than half a centimeter.
And where do they tend to pop up? Well, you'll most commonly see them on the lips, on the buccal mucosa, which is just the inside of your cheek, and on the gingivae, or what we all know as our gums.
Here's a really clear picture of what they look like on the lips. You can see those distinct flat brown spots. They match that description we just talked about perfectly. And now here are a couple of examples on the inside of the cheek, that buccal mucosa. See? They're still flat, still well-defined, and still brown, but this shows that the exact shape and shade can vary a little bit from person to person.
Now, this is a really important point. These lesions are asymptomatic. That means they don't cause any pain or discomfort at all. For some people, though, it might be more of an aesthetic issue, especially if it's in a spot that's easy to see.
All right, so let's say you see a spot that fits this description. What happens next? That brings us to how we actually confirm the diagnosis.
Even though these spots have a pretty characteristic look, the gold standard for getting a definitive diagnosis is still a biopsy. It's really the only way to be 100% certain, and more importantly, to rule out anything more serious.
And that leads us right into our final section, management and follow-up. So once the diagnosis is confirmed, what are the next steps?
Well, the good news is the management process is super straightforward. First off, once it's confirmed as being benign, no other treatment is needed. That's it. And a lot of the time, the spot is so small that the biopsy itself actually removes the whole thing. Now, if someone has multiple spots, just keeping a photographic record is a great way to monitor for any changes over time. And of course, if a spot does change in appearance later on, then another biopsy will be recommended, just to be on the safe side.
So there you have it, the complete picture on oral melanotic macules. It kind of makes you think, doesn't it? Does knowing that the follow-up for something this common is so simple, does that change how we view our overall oral health? It really reinforces just how important it is to simply keep an eye on things. Definitely something to think about.